Shalom, 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 Yasha Allah. This is your boy, Brother Shama Allah. Back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called, For Strong is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi thy power, who judgeth her. For strong is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi thy power, who judgeth her. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. All right, like I said, today's lesson, it's going to be a quick one. It says, For strong is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, who judgeth her. All right, and that who is talking about Babylon. All right, aka America. All right, that great city. Right, we can go to Revelation chapter 17 and verse 18. It says, The woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right, that's Babylon the Great, aka America. All right, and she's gonna be utterly destroyed. All right, because Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi has spoken it and has judged her. Okay. Let's get to it, right? Let's go to Revelation 17 and verse number 16. It says, And the 10 horns, right, the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, so not only are the you have Babylon's enemies, right? When we go to Ezekiel, but you're also going to have their allies who are going to hate this whore and destroy this place, right, with fire. All right, because the Lord has spoken it. Let's go to it. Ezekiel 39. In verse number 1, it says, Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, Thus saith Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi thy power, Behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. It says, Salakia. Salakia. I think I'm on 38. Salakia. Verse 30, this is Ezekiel chapter 38. All right. Verse 2, it says, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. It says, jumping down, verse 4, it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Okay, all of them with weapons. Okay, ready for the war, ready for battle. Okay, ready for this third woe that is coming upon this earth. Okay, Persia, right, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, right? And there's an article I might bring out. It talks about the countries that are near Amalek and how much they despise them, and you see the list, and it's pretty much the same list that's going to be here going up against Babylon. Okay, it says Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Okay, because there's going to be many of nations that are going to team up against they're going to team up with Gog, right? Gog of Magog, which is Russia, right? To go against the whore, the great whore, which is who? Babylon the Great. Okay, the scriptures tell you. It says, and even with that, you're gonna have Yahawashi. Okay, He's coming to make sure that this place is completely desolate too. All right. Isaiah 47. We'll start at verse number 1. Right? It says, judgment on Babylon. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Right? This place is no longer the place to be. Okay? As in the past, this was the place that everybody wanted to come, the land of opportunity, the land of freedom, whatever they wanted to call it, right? Now everybody sees that this place is an abomination, man, right? It's not what it's cracked up to be. Okay, that American dream is turned, into a nightmare. You got people leaving and doing other things. It says, take the millstones and grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen, and I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahawah, Bahasham Yahawashi of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Okay, because when Yahawashi comes, right, when the Heavenly Father Yahawah sends his son Yahawashi, right, to Babylon, right, he's not coming as a mere man. He's coming in his full force, right, with the whole host of angels of the army, okay? And they're coming to what? To destroy this place, all right? To destroy Babylon and to take over all the kingdoms of the earth, okay? Because, and that's why it says, for strong is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, which judgeth her, okay? The Lord is coming, with all the power and glory, right? Matter of fact, when you read Second Esdras, right, we know in Second Esdras 6 and 9, it's for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay, and the end, of Esau's world is going to be in a spectacular event. Okay, it says Second Esdras chapter 9 and verse number 5. It says, for like as all that is made in the world has a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Okay, and we're coming out and we're prophesying against this place, right? And we're manifesting the end. Okay, through the power and spirit of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Right, Second Esdras chapter 9 verse 5, it says, for like as all that is made in the world has a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. It says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings, and wonders and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. Okay, and we see it, right? The end of this movie, all right? This chapter in this movie, hey, it's spectacular, all right? There's been signs in the heaven, all right? There's been, uproars, commotions, earthquakes, you name it, all right? And it's only going to get even more intense, okay? It's going to get even more intense, right? And this place is going to be utterly destroyed. The scriptures say that it's going to be like a woman in travail, okay? As she's having her contractions to give birth, what do? They get closer and closer and closer. And that's what's going to happen, until this place is utterly destroyed, all right? Let's see. Let's stay in the book of Isaiah. Let's go to 66 and verse number 15. It says, for behold, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi will come with fire, and his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. It says, for by fire and by his sword will Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi shall be many. Okay, because we understand, it's going to be a huge death toll, all right? Right? And we know who that comes from, right? Let's get that. Deuteronomy 32 and verse number 9. It says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Okay? And the Lord is getting ready to bring serious judgment and a whole lot of death. All right? It's coming. Okay? Let's go back to let's go to Revelation. Okay? Back to Revelation 18 and start at verse number 5. Okay, because Babylon has to go. All right, this is Revelation chapter 18 and verse number 5. Matter of fact, let's jump to verse 3. Then we'll jump to verse 5. It says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Okay, because this society is likened unto a whore. Okay, and you see it. They got the Statue of Liberty, right? And there's really no justice here. Okay, it's all a facade, man. You looked up her skirt, and it is dirty, it's wicked, it's abominations out of there. Okay, it says, "For all have the nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath, of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Okay, and because they have drunk of their wine of that fornication, they're angry. All right, Revelation 17 and verse number 2, it says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Right? That's why they're mad. Right? It says, and then so when you jump down, verse 16, it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." Okay, and we go to, matter of fact, we'll stay in this one. Let's go to and I'm gonna go back, Salakia. I'm just kind of jumping back and forth. Jeremiah 51, right? And let's go to verse number 7. It says, "Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahawah's hand, that made all the earth drunken, and the nations were drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad." Okay. It says, let's see. Let's jump up. Here we go. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 1. It says, "Thus saith Yahawah Bahasham, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind." All right, and the destroying wind, right? It's going to be those ICBM missiles, right? Along with Yahawashi and the angels and the chariots, right? And that weaponry. It says, "And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about." Right? And when that you fan, it kind of helps the flames, okay? That fanning of the fire, right? It feeds oxygen to the fire, okay? Because the Lord wants this one, he wants this fire to burn, okay? It says, "Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow against him that lifteth himself up in his burgening." And it says, "And spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts." Let's see. Verse 6, it says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of Yahawah Shemashai's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." Okay. Let's go to 50. Jeremiah 50. And let's see. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. It says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence shall she be taken. Their arrows shall be as mighty expert men. None shall return in vain." Okay, and I'm actually was watching this YouTube, about some of these arrows. All right, some of these missiles. Okay, and their capabilities and the things that they can do. All right, and these nations, right? And I saw an article as well as you have Babylon and Israel trying to stop Iran from making these arrows. But guess what? You have other nations talking about, hey, we're going to give you some of these. Okay, they're gonna, hey, if you can't make them, we're gonna give them to you, right? Because guess what? These arrows are gonna be shot off. Okay. It says their arrows shall be as a mighty expert man, and none shall return in vain, right? Because none of these are gonna miss their target, all right, which is Babylon, all right, because the Lord wants this place utterly, completely, destroyed in a wasteland. Okay. It says, I'm gonna jump down to verse 14. It says, "Put yourselves in array against Babylon, round about all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi." Okay. It says, verse 22, "A sound of battle is in the land, and of a great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken?" Right? Because this place, what does it do? It flaunts its military might, comes down on people, just like they did to Persia just, a couple days ago. All right. And then boasting about it, prideful about it. All right. And then come to find out, I was looking at an article. They showed where days before this place was about to get hit, they had trucks, leaving. What was they doing? They was probably taking away those nuclear stuff. Okay, and took it somewhere else. All right, so you sat there, you bombed something that probably wasn't even there, man. Okay, it says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" Right? How? Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, right? It says, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware," right? Because now they're talking about they want peace, right? And it says, "They shall say peace, and sudden destruction shall come." All right. So it says, "O Babylon, thou was not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi." It says, "Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi hath opened his armory, and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, and for his work of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans." It says, "Come against her from the uttermost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing be left." All right, nothing of her be left. Okay, and when we go to back to Revelation 18, right, and let's go to verse number 5. It says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In her cup which she have filled, fill to her double. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow." It says, "And shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi thy power, which judgeth her." Okay, this is all of the judgment of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Okay, right? So there's no escaping. There's no getting away of that, right? You can try to stop folks from making these, but these arrows are going to be shot at you. All right, and you're going to be taken by them and utterly destroyed, right? You're going to say that you're not going to sit, a widow, and guess what? You're going to get all the sorrow. Okay. It says, And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and have lived deliciously with her shall bewail and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. It says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. All right, and I can just only imagine. I sit here and I try to ponder, the destruction of this place. Okay, and we see it, coming and unfolding at this moment. All right, we know that the Revelation 13:16, must take place. But just to see and imagine, the arrows that are going to be shot against this place. All right, and it's going to be like nothing that's ever been seen. All right, a kingdom that is brought down in great destruction in 1 hour. Okay, in 1 hour, this place is going to be brought to naught. Right, in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Why? Because for strong is Yahawah Bahasham who judgeth her. Okay, so this is what we're looking forward to. This is what we continue to prophesy against this place. Okay, for all the atrocities, for the blood spilled of the children of Israel. Okay, remember, he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. All right, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and you of the diaspora who look like these other nations, but your lineage goes back to Jacob. You are the Israelites, and Yahawah Bahasham is about to bring judgment and recompense upon this evil, wicked place, Babylon. All right. So with that, I just want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Halal, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom to the 144,000 men. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect out there. Stay diligent, stay focused, right? Keep Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, close and near and dear unto you, all right? And remember, the name of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi is a strong tower, and the righteous run into it and are safe, okay? Continue to call on those names and let this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding be your stability in these times, all right? And with that, I say, abal, babal, shalom.